Right now.
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 Right.
Right now.
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 Because it's time to right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Welcome to the Right Now Writers Group. This is our weekly writers group where we are joined by other writers in the community. If you want to talk about writing, come hang out, get some writing sprints in, or maybe, just maybe, we're procrastinating just a little bit, we got you covered. So this is our weekly writers group. It's an open invite. So if you want to hop on the stream with us, just drop a comment. Let us know. This is for all the writers in the community for us to check in on our work week by week and see just how the progress is coming. Welcome, my friends. So good to see you all. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Kaufman, daily writing streamer, dragon enthusiast, and soon to be fantasy author. So we'll talk about all that and more, but glad to see you here, my friends. And of course, I'm joined by the incredible, the amazing, the wonderful.
So, hey everyone, Chat Soul. Usually working on fan fictions, trying to write a few fiction books right now, and I have absolutely no idea what I'm working on tonight because this week has been filled with nothing but an ungodly amount of snow and very sporadic updates for my kids' school.
Well, it sounds like you're having a lot of fun with the writing vibe this week, Soul. So does that mean that there's the Ice Age is going to come early in your prehistoric store?
I have no idea. No, for Age of Ash, it's not going to happen in that.
Oh man. Well, so it's always good to connect with you and everybody here on our weekly writers group. It's great to see everyone. Megan, welcome. Lynn, what is up? Courtney in the house. What is everyone working on? Nobody can guess what I'm working on tonight, so that'll be a mystery.
Lynn, you have so many projects.
Oh yeah, I know. So I do have a couple of projects, but Scarecrow is my only priority right now. Lynn, congrats. 3/4 of the way through your first superhero book. That's excellent. Ooh. Excellent, because I know you pushed into another genre. And I mean, so I know you push into more genres more frequently than I do. So I was like, whenever we try out new or different genres, I know it's a bit of a learning curve.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like we got some good progress. Courtney, making some progress on your Motorcycle Club book, Chapter 17, Love That. Vom, welcome. So something that was on my mind this week, so I mean, like I said, I've been really trying to push through with Scarecrow. What's really crazy, though, is I've gotten the first... I've started getting feedback from people for the first quarter of the book, and it's absolutely incredible.
Nice.
But as I've been going through the feedback, I realized and I asked myself, do you think something that writers struggle with is figuring out how to choose which feedback to listen to from readers or editors?
It's actually a good question.
Mm-hmm.
From my own experience, when I've gotten feedback on my stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I always look at what is the main thing they talk about. Mm-hmm. What is something that might be like a recurring thing if they give more than one piece.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I will admit there's been a couple times where I've gotten feedback where it's like, okay, they clearly did not enjoy this.
Mm-hmm.
But every once in a while I've gotten something where it's like, that stuck out. And so for myself, at least, I just kind of follow what stuck out to the reader and why exactly are they commenting on it, and do they give a reason for that? Because sometimes I've gotten comments like on my fan fictions where like, oh my god, this is really cool. Oh my god, I feel so bad for this character. But then every once in a while I'll actually get like feedback, not just like a compliment, but like a feedback on a specific moment where it's like, so you're not just like, you like this part, but you're actually like, you imagine like this character doing something different. And I have to admit, that's actually made me think before. It's like, why didn't I go that route? And maybe they could do something similar to that later on.
Interesting. So it sounds like you kind of take all of the feedback into consideration, but you will only use part of the feedback based on what your vision is at that point of the
More or
story.
less. I have
Mm-hmm.
gotten feedback where it's like clearly they haven't read further chapters, but
Mm-hmm.
then they comment later and they're like, and they kind of almost like correct themselves. Then I've had feedback where they've actually, one feedback piece actually gave me an idea for a sequel to a fan fiction, which
Mm-hmm.
I've been kind of trying to work on. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, no, I just kind of look at it and it's like, is this related to what I'm actually working on with this?
Mm-hmm.
Or is like they're so far back from what I've actually done that I know whatever they're commenting on, I've already written that part and well, it can't be changed because it's already published.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think that happens to a lot of writers and a lot of people when they give feedback. And I think this actually voices what Lynn's saying. How Lynn, said you listen to all feedback, but you don't take all the suggestions. Usually the feedback is noting that there is an issue there, even if their suggestion on how to fix it is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear from new writers all the time where they get all types of feedback and they feel like they have to use all of it because it's people's recommendations on how to improve the story. I don't even know if quality feedback is how to fix a problem, and I mean it depends on who you're getting feedback from.
Oh yeah.
But I think when I think about feedback, I think the role of an alpha beta reader is generally to be able to point out the problems so that you're aware of them. But I don't know if it's generally meant to define how to solve the problems necessarily. And I guess it depends on who your alpha beta reader is. I feel like alpha beta reading is more figure out the problems and then let the author decide. Whereas an editor is these are the problems, here's ways to improve them.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
And
definitely.
I think that's one of the key differences that a lot of writers will get wrong.
I think
Like
actually what really makes a difference there is the alpha beta reader versus the editor. It's
Mhm,
in their names. The alpha beta reader are the people who are going to be picking your book up off the shelves.
mhm.
The editor is more like another writer. So yeah, the feedback is definitely going to be a lot different from either side.
Mm-hmm. By the way, welcome, Mama Maggie. I saw you hopped in, and you guys all give some good comments. Courtney, like I click more because I talk it through with people and see if others see it, and have like a group I talk everything through with. And I think that's a really really good call out, Courtney. Um, I think when you're getting multiple feedback, I think something, and I do something as well. I try to see what are the similarities between all the feedback. Is there similar observations, whether that's from readers or from editors? Is there similar observations? And then that tells me that that's more valuable data for me to address in the storytelling process.
Oh yeah.
Feedback is also subjective. Feedback is entirely subjective. I mean, for the most part, copy editing, proofreading is a little less subjective. You can't have sentences with no periods, no punctuation.
Right.
Like that's not subjective. But generally, anything that's and you can't. And the thing is, like, you can't say all grammar is not subjective because style people use em dashes, ellipses, sentence fragments, and can adjust grammar usage all the time, but generally speaking. Let's see. What's up, Ambrosia in the house? Hello, freaky darlings. Can't join this week. Family emergency. Has posted phone away time, but I love y'all and I'm in the chat. Well, we always appreciate you being here, my friend. Anytime, all the time, whether you're in person, we'll be here. You'll be here with us in spirit, my friend. And Mom Maggie, this is a good point, by the way. What's up, Janine? Welcome, my friend. Hope everything is going well. Welcome. Where for anyone who's just hopping in right now, we're just talking about feedback. How do you receive feedback from readers or editors? And then how do we decide what types of feedback to use? And Mama Maggie made a good point. You said, I also give feedback that I 100% never expect the writer to take.
Mm-hmm. I will admit, I feel like people have to be really careful with that, though. And I only say that because I actually have seen people give feedback, like on fan fictions before.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm actually on like Discords. I'm actually on a few fanfiction Discords, and I've seen the author sometimes get really defensive.
Mm.
But more often than not, it's because the feedback is really well, you can give feedback, but there's a difference between constructive feedback and harmful feedback. And usually when the author gets defensive it's because it's taken as harmful.
Mm-hmm.
Feedback, you have to be careful with how you word it. Even if you don't expect the author to take it,
Mm-hmm.
I think you have to watch how you word it, just in case they are someone who is like who is a little sensitive. I mean, I'm not saying watch it, watch all your stuff, but just it's a good rule of thumb. Be careful with your feedback and try not to be
Mm-hmm.
crappy in it.
You know what's interesting, Janine? This actually, I see this happen a lot. So Janine said, I've gotten a lot of feedback that almost felt like it was directing me toward writing toward what they would rather
Mhm.
read, as they felt like they didn't like the story as is.
Yep.
And I think a lot of the times for readers generally who don't have that skill, because giving feedback is a skill. It's a skill like anything else that we build up. A lot of time readers will give feedback based on their subjective opinion of what makes a good story, based on the stories that they like. So
Mhm.
then the filter is through, these are stories that I like. How do I get this story that I'm trying to get feedback on closer to the stories that I like?
Yeah.
Um, and I think it can be difficult for a lot of readers to be able to remove themselves, approach it from a neutral standpoint, and give neutral observations that's going to be best suited for what the author is, what their intent is. And I mean,
Right.
you guys see what I do on the critique stream every time. That's why I really try to reinforce that there's no good or bad stories out there. It's trying to understand what is the writer's intent, and then did they either achieve that intent, yes or no. Yeah, Mom Maggie never personally attacking the author, and I think that voices what you were saying. So,
I have actually seen that with
mm-hmm.
with a few fan fiction writers, and just
Mm-hmm.
I read their stuff. I'm part of their discords, and it's like I've read a fair amount of their stories, and they're really good.
Mm-hmm.
And I've actually seen somebody like personally attack them through AO3, and it's just like, why are you so angry that you have to attack somebody who's writing this for fun?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's definitely something to be aware of. Like, yeah, and I mean, I think if you're receiving feedback and somebody is trying to minimize you as an author, I don't think that's feedback, right? And I think where you have to make that clear distinction, right? If I
Right.
had somebody give me feedback and they told me it's obvious you have brain damage and should stop writing, that's not feedback.
No,
If
that's not.
anything, and this is it's a hard thing for people to do. I myself would deploy empathy because I feel bad that that person deals with so much negative BS in their own life that they have to minimize somebody else. I can walk away from that comment and be like, all right, well, it sucks for you more than anything. Um, it's just, it's difficult. It's difficult, my friends. And I think being able to figure out how can we distance ourselves from our ego when receiving feedback can actually help a little bit as well, because like we're so much of our emotions, our love is tied into our stories.
Hmm.
So sharing them with others is a form of vulnerability,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's hard. It's hard to be vulnerable, especially when you haven't built up that skill of being vulnerable in public with other people.
And especially when it's something you're passionate about, I feel like it's
Mhm.
even harder then.
Even more so the more time you've spent on it.
I
If you're
do want to point
passionate
this
and you've
out.
spent more time, because nobody wants to minimize, nobody wants to lose the amount of time that they've spent on it.
Right. I do want to point this out. I've actually had a few people point out stuff and actually point out things in my own writings
Mm-hmm.
where they want like the original character to end up with someone specific.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, no, no. I had already planned who they were going to end up with.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I like your idea, but no, they weren't pushy about it, and they
Mm-hmm.
didn't exactly attack me, but they weren't. I didn't feel like they were really the nicest either. And the
Mm-hmm.
grammar and clarification, I will admit, I have had a few people ask for clarification, and it actually did point out a mistake I had made where the
Mm-hmm.
where I had actually hit like the wrong letter or something. And but there's also like you had said, style.
Mm-hmm.
Authors have their own styles, and sometimes yeah, it's hard to read something, but you have to actually think, wait, is this like the only time this has appeared in a story,
Mm-hmm.
or did something very similar happen periodically throughout the writing?
You know, Cheryl, you bring up a really interesting point. Cheryl said, I find I have different taste than most people, so most people don't like my stuff. Usually, I'm okay with that. But I can't handle personal attacks right now in my life either. I think we also have to recognize where we are at, where our own mental health is at, when we are putting stuff out into the world, and when we are asking other people to be involved in that process. If we are in a state of our life where we're not doing great, our mental health might not be in a great place, and we know ourselves well enough that we might react negatively, then putting the book out right now and asking for feedback might not be the best for your mental health. I think trying to figure out that balance for yourself is very important, because if you're already in a state of being where you're not doing so well, then you're just opening yourself up to one person saying something that could be neutral
Hmm.
negative, and then you're just going to take it even worse because you're not in a good state,
Oh yeah.
right? And once again, the importance of mental health and working on yourself, of course.
Oh yeah.
Hmm. So, but Cheryl, just know we appreciate you, and we've always got a positive energy for you, my friend. Let's see, Mama Maggie with my publishing house. I'm an editor that didn't believe therapy helps anyone. Okay. I've talked with people like this who don't believe in therapy either, and she demanded that I remove all the therapy scenes. I refused because the character evolution totally changed. Oh, that's interesting.
When someone tells you to remove something specific, that to me personally, that kind of irks me, because
Mm-hmm.
more often than not, when somebody's asking you to remove something, it is something that can't be removed. Like that, it changes the character, it changes the story, it changes something fundamental.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody points out something that needs to be removed and you doubt it for even a second, it
Mm-hmm.
means that scene is vital somehow. If you have no quarrel about removing it, then the scene probably doesn't even need to be there,
Mm-hmm.
except for maybe like flavor or something like that. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
no, but most of the time it's just most people seem to target scenes that are like, if I change this, my character's not going to have this one specific experience or moment that they
Mm-hmm.
really need to have later down the line.
Lynn, by the way, you asked a good question. You said, are we talking about readers giving feedback or like alpha beta readers and editors? Because that is a different conversation. Absolutely. So I think we're predominantly talking about alpha beta readers and editors. Um, but I mean, there's a little bit in the readers giving it. I think mental health applies to both conversations.
Oh yeah.
Um, Something that I've started calling alpha beta readers and editors, this is in my own process, is I'm calling that phase the feedback loop phase of the process. I've started trying to call the different parts, and this is just me. This is what I do. I try to start calling each of them different phases in my own process, so that way I can distinguish when I'm having conversations about them what I'm talking about. So when I'm talking about getting feedback on your work, alpha, beta reading, and editing, those are the two ways we get feedback. I personally will call that the feedback loop. And the reason it's a loop is because you have to keep going in circles, get feedback, either fix the problem, fix the recommendations, or don't, until you move past that and it's ready for a proofread. Yeah, and I mean, it's always interesting with editors, and I mean, I think this is probably a little different because you're with a publishing house, Mama Maggie, so you're in a slightly different position as compared to working with a freelance editor. But I think all the more reason that we really want to be able to get samples and really be able to test out editors and be able to understand what their styles and their recommendations are before working with them. And I think that's also very, very important. I think there are times where it can be recommended that scenes can be removed, and there's times where it can be recommended that scenes can be kept. But I ask myself, if I'm going to recommend a specific scene be removed, I'm going to provide the why. I'm going to provide what is the problem with the scene, why should it be removed, and then why it will more closely impact the story. And then I'll usually ask the writer if they agree or disagree. If they agree with it, do they have other ideas, or do they want to brainstorm together? And I think that's also very powerful, because I think when somebody offers ideas and it's unwarranted, then it kind of feels like some authors can feel like it's an attack. But I think if if a writer is accepting a brainstorm, then it feels like it's a collaboration.
I will say from personal experience, I've actually had people just like give me an idea,
Mm-hmm.
and then I've also had people ask me if I'd like to hear their idea. And usually, at least for myself, I can always tell if they're being pushy and being kind of an ass,
Mm-hmm.
or if they're actually trying to be helpful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, Maggie, that's good. You said you got them to change your editor.
Good.
That's good.
Very good.
Your next editor loved the idea of a character proactively seeking to heal her mental health.
Oh, such a change. And an awesome change at that.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Man, so it's really interesting writing characters with mental health problems. I really didn't intentionally tend to write characters with specific mental health um, issues and Scarecrow. But in developing the book, I mean, outside of it's really dementia is really what the majority of the world deals with. Some of the characters have very specific termed and coined mental health problems that I didn't intend to, but in terms of just the way the character has come out, in contrast to the difficulty of the world, like that's what the problem is.
I think more people actually write their characters with some sort of mental health issue than they really realize.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're doing it on purpose, I'm not counting that. But
Mm-hmm.
I've had characters I have designed before that they weren't intended on having a specific problem.
Mm-hmm.
No, when I read back over them, it's like, oh, they developed that because of what I put them through.
Mm-hmm.
And I found it actually kind of interesting. That's actually when I finally realized, no, it seems like most characters have some kind of issue, and most of the time it seems like it's minor. But more often than not, I've noticed that characters have a kind of a mild issue. And sometimes more than one. Even if it's not named, there's certain symptoms, characteristics, maybe even stereotypes that it fits, like depression or anxiety or I think I actually had one character that I encountered that I am almost certain if they were like a real person, they would have been like multiple personality disorder. Not bipolar, but multiple personality.
I just dropped that question in the YouTube chat. So I pose this to you. If you're just hopping into the stream, welcome. This is our weekly writers group. We're just talking about, we were talking about the feedback loop, and now we're kind of talking more about mental health. And I posed a really great question to you, the chat. If you're on YouTube, if not, just drop a comment. Are there any specific mental health issues that your characters in your current work in progress deal with? Because this is what it made me think of, because I have a character in my book, this rabbit character, who is I think they have multiple personality disorder. And like after envisioning the original concept for the character, I was trying not to have it be multiple personality disorder, so I didn't play into the stereotype. But the more the character develops, the more it's multiple personality disorder.
I'm just going to say this. Neurodiversity does not count as a mental health issue. Neurodiversity, I think that's just kind of a given. You're either neurodiverse or you're not.
Mm-hmm.
But that can be that is completely separate from the mental health issues. Let's see. I think by this point I've had characters that see, PTSD, depression. One of my characters is literally nothing but anxiety, so
That's like extreme anxiety.
I'm pretty sure if Osa existed, he'd be on the strongest possible anxiety medication, and it still would barely touch it. I feel so
Uh,
bad for everything I put him through because when
mhm,
I actually read through his story, when I finally finished
mhm.
it, I'm just sitting there like, I think I ruined him. I mean, the guy is Zoan, so he's a big cat.
Mhm,
He's basically just a giant cat with anxiety, and that is terrifying.
mhm. You know what's interesting? We'll continue this conversation in just a second because it looks like we are joined by another fellow incredible writer here in the community. Without further ado, bring to the stage the wonderful, the amazing, the mysterious JLD.
Ooh. Man, I feel like I should have a cape.
Hey, what's up, JL? Welcome. Quick intro for anyone who doesn't know you.
Oh, yeah, sure. Hey, I'm JLD. I write spicy romance. I'm a published author and new YouTuber, author tuber, and I also have a Discord, a community Discord where we do all kinds of writing circles and stuff like that. And I am here to cross promote because I love the cough and I love the chat stall.
I love the crop too. Who dat? Oh man, well, Jill, we always love having you. Right now, we're having a really interesting conversation about writing characters with mental health disorders.
Ooh.
Really great conversation right now. So let's see, where were we at? Courtney, said, I think without meaning to, where'd it go? I think without meaning to, I tackle a huge emotional event that causes mental health issues and not one that has the same or deals with it the same way. Current W work in progress is PTSD from DV. I know PTSD. What is DV?
I'm trying to think. It's not, I don't know. I don't know if I've heard that.
Yeah, I'm familiar with PTSD. Courtney, just tell me what DV is. I'm probably just having a brain fart.
Domestic
Yeah,
violence.
and I think domestic violence. Yeah, okay, domestic violence.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so just to be clear, neurodivergency is not a mental health disorder. Maggie, sadly, neurodiversity means adapting to one's environment because so many will not recognize neurodivergence as not a mental health disorder. I myself don't know very much about neurodivergence. I can't speak to it.
Yeah. Neurodivergence is literally anyone like with can be PTSD, can be anxiety, depression. I mean, if your brain does not work in a normal functional way, I think at this point it's really just considered neurodivergent. It is a very broad term.
So then my guess is because a lot of people who are neurodivergent also happen to have mental health disorders.
Well, not just that. There's being born neurodivergence.
Mm-hmm.
There's born neurodivergence, and then there's formed neurodivergence. People who develop PTSD, that is actually a form of formed neurodivergence. But people who are born like with autism or ADHD or something, that is born neurodivergence. Our brains are literally just wired differently, and we cannot help it. Versus somebody with PTSD, where their brain literally rewires itself from how it was born, which has a different effect, and they're still studying that. I study neurological things every once in a while, so I read an article on that like a few months ago now.
Interesting.
So awesome, Soul. Thank you so much for sharing that. Let's see, JL. So what mental health disorders do you deal with or tackle with in your stories, your storytelling?
Well, I have complex PTSD from childhood abuse for non-family, thank God. And so I wanted to express that in my character, Lexi from Breaking Fancy. And so I have her dealing with, and the first thing you do is you compartmentalize, you shove down the memories, you go, none of that happened. I'm a new person now. She's reinventing herself while realizing that these things are going to bubble up and they are going to affect her decision-making, who she loves, who she rejects, how she views the world, how she views herself. She has very low self-esteem, even though she's a completely hot blonde. So there's, and it's not so much self-esteem, it's more of a sense of self-worth and
Mhm.
worthiness. And so wanted to explore these themes with her,
Mhm.
mostly to help myself. And that was kind of how I started writing in the first place. And then it just bloomed into something really not only therapeutic, but something that I absolutely became
Mhm.
passionate about, career wise and stuff. So that's something that I'm very comfortable. It's an ocean I'm comfortable swimming in because I understand the mental challenges and the emotional challenges and all of that.
Mhm.
And it also is interesting is the more I'm understanding it, the more I'm healing, the more I can recognize it in other people. And I'm
Mhm.
like, "Oh, I see, I know you. I am you. I got you. It's okay, I get it." And, it's very cool, like, in that way, I also explore themes of healing and, letting your walls down and trust, learning how to trust, not just your other people, but yourself, which is
Mhm.
a big something I think a lot of us struggle with normally,
Yeah.
much less, having any kind of history. So that's what I really love to explore trauma, and I use trauma in most of my some kind of trauma in many of my characters because I love exploring themes of healing and that kind of thing. So I find it fits well with romance.
I think, and this is just from, I've also done my own therapy work. I think people are more
Mm.
likely to work with their own issues
Mhm.
rather than delve into issues they're not familiar with, that they've never touched before. Like, for example, a lot of my characters, PTSD.
Yeah.
See PTSD, they deal with anxiety. I've had a couple of characters even be suicidal.
Hmm.
And I'm not afraid to admit that. But I
It's
won't
something
I
people deal
won't
with.
write
Yeah.
a character like with schizophrenia because I don't
Hmm.
know what it's like. And I
Right.
don't want I'm too afraid, especially with something that is so stigmatized. I
Mhm.
don't want to write something that can be taken the wrong way. And I really don't want to get like an angry reader be like, that is not at all what this is like. And then I just suddenly feel bad because it's like, I'm just trying to write. I tried to do my best.
It's interesting
Mhm.
that, I agree completely in that I don't want to step on toes. I don't wanna, like, get it if it's someone that's a dear, dear friend that I can learn through them and use them as a source, I think I'd be more comfortable with branching out into something. I
Mhm.
just don't feel called to explore mental trauma that deeply, at least not right now. But I have a friend who deals with many issues and health issues, and she puts them in her characters in her books, and ironically, people with those issues are like, "Well, obviously you don't have this or you wouldn't have said that." And she's like, "Literally my whole life." But it's that just kind of goes to show you that people, if you're a bitch, you're just going to be a bitch. Doesn't matter how healthy or whatever is going on up here. But also that even those experiences are very individual. And
Mhm.
what happens for them for us maybe experienced differently in someone else. And you're not going to please everybody, but I
Oh
love
yeah.
that she's using it as an avenue, to express. So it's a good thing.
You know what's interesting is when I first started embarking on the world of the Last Scarecrow, in creating a world where basically half the characters have dementia or varying forms of dementia. I myself have never known anyone who has dementia. So, in the very early stages, I did a lot of research in terms of talking to people who have dementia, going
Ooh.
to what's that? Those care facilities, and
Mm,
having conversations with people, with caregivers and patients
wow.
who
That
deal
is
with it, so I
neat.
can better understand what it looks like in different people.
Mhm.
And then I ask myself, if I'm writing characters who have mental health disorders, how do I do it in a way where I can get closer to the truth? Because the truth is different for different people.
Yeah.
Mental health disorders like dementia, or right now I'm clearly writing a character as multiple personality disorder. How do I write it in a way that feels like it's true to the character without feeling like anybody who does deal with that mental health disorder is minimized? And I
Mhm.
think for
Sure.
me, I don't call out the mental health disorders in my storytelling. I give enough clues that that's probably what it is, but I don't name it specifically.
Yeah, it seems like when you name it specifically, that's when people come out of the woodwork and are like, "Oh my god, it's not really like this. You're not writing it the correct way," or something like that. When you just write maybe what it might be, but you don't name it. I
Let the
think so
experience
many
be
mental health issues have like the same symptoms, the same behaviors
Hmm.
that, I mean, seriously, ADHD and autism can be so similar alone. Just those
Hmm.
two get mixed up all the time. And I can't imagine how much the other mental issues in the world get mixed up with each other, just because some of them, they can look almost the same on the surface.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And this, I think, why, and sadly, so much of it goes on for so long without getting properly diagnosed.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I mean, I didn't get diagnosed with ADHD until like 3 years ago. No, I've been dealing with this since I was a kid, and it's like, explains a lot.
I probably am, but I won't let the system take me.
Yeah, I think that does happen. I think that does happen to a lot of people, actually, where they deal with the symptoms for a very long portion of their life until either the symptoms get worse enough or their life is changed to some extent, and then they're forced to try to figure out, get help, and then the help leads to them understanding what it is. A lot of people never even get diagnosed, and just that's who they are their entire life. And I know people who are like, this is probably what you have. This is most likely based on the symptoms, but they don't know because they don't.
Self-diagnosis, though, can be valid, especially at least if you do your research and you know what you're talking about.
To an extent, I think.
It's still better to talk to like a therapist or a psychiatrist or somebody, but to a point, self-diagnosis, it has helped a lot of people.
It gets your feet on the path, at least, if nothing else, to start understanding, going, oh, I relate to that. That's why. Oh, God. Okay. Feeling better now that I have a name for it, but also I think a lot of it is like being creative, I think goes hand in hand with a lot of that stuff, because we creative people are a little random. We are a little kind of like a little everywhere, and our attention can be hyper focused or in three places at once. And I mean, it's just all the different kinds of things that I hear about ADHD and so forth and so on. It's like, I just thought that was being artistic. Okay. I'll be ADHD. That's fine. Whatever. I don't care.
Oh man. Let's see. We have some really, really great call outs here.
I just want to say this. I have done this. I have had a therapist a couple times, actually. A couple different therapists where they were not helpful. One was actually kind of harmful and even threatened to drop me because I was not working through my issue fast enough. Wow. I'm sorry, what? That's
rude.
Rude, and I really wish I had reported her.
No doubt. Yeah.
Yeah, I think finding the right therapist is definitely a journey.
It is a godsend when you find the right one.
Who, I think it's finding the right one who will ask the right questions and do the right discovery. That works well for you.
When they ask you questions rather than lead you along, that's the kind of therapist you need. It's the one that makes you think.
Yeah, and I can tell a lot of you in the chat that you guys you've dealt with your own variety of mental health issues, whether for yourself or with people you've known or friends and family. So I think we can definitely all relate to having to deal with the craziness that sometimes life is.
Being a people is hard, man. This thing in here is super, super complex. And just chemistry alone is mind-boggling. So, I mean, health, dishealth, as long as you're working towards finding your harmony and your well-being, I mean, find the expression you need, go forward, and make sure you got good people around you.
Completely agreed with that.
Definitely.
Absolutely agreed. So I think this is 100% a great conversation. And I think having spoken about feedback and then talking about mental health, which is really, really powerful, now is a perfect time to hop into a writing sprint. So let's get some writing done. We'll hop into a first 30-minute writing sprint. I'm trying to make sure we have enough time so we can actually chat in between. So we'll hop into a 30-minute writing sprint. Your guys' conversation joining us in the chat is incredible. We could literally spend a full day talking about mental health and character development and all the things. We could spend a full day talking about feedback and how to do the right feedback and all the things. So this is a great, great conversation. We'll continue to find ways to be able to have these conversations because they're absolutely incredible, insightful, and helpful. And I know they help me a lot. And yes, so let me pull up the sprint timer. While I'm setting this up, if you're here in the chat, what are you working on? What's the thing that you're working on today? JL, Chat Soul, what are you guys going to do?
I'm doing Seed Bearer second half, hopefully, of the duology, and working on some creating, getting through a part that could be super lame or could be amazing. And so I'm working on making it amazing.
I feel like it's going to be amazing.
Yes.
So what about you?
The talk we just had actually kind of gave me an idea to start trying to write a character that I've been kind of playing around with, who actually does have a disability. And I think I'm not going to actually like write, but I'm going to do some research because I do like the character. I've actually been using him in a role play, and I think I've been role playing him very well, but anyone who does role play knows that if you're role playing a character versus actually like writing them for a story, it is different.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds very, very fun. Good luck working on those stories. And as a real quick note before we hop into the sprint, if you're just hopping into the stream, welcome. We're just hopping into a 30-minute writing sprint. But if you're enjoying the stream, don't forget to tap that like button. Help us show the algorithm that writing streams are cool. We appreciate you. Make sure to stick around. We'll continue the conversation after the sprint. So whether you're brainstorming, writing, editing, revising, author branding, or you're doing something in between, it is time to write now. All right, and we are back from the writing sprint. How did that writing sprint treat you? Were you able to get any words in, any ideas, any brainstorms, any work? Hopefully, fingers crossed, we were able to make a little bit of a push. Drop a comment. We would love to hear from you. Looks like, Megan, you got 566 words. Nice. Excellent. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. What about you two? How did it treat you guys?
I'm trying to do my word count here. I don't think it was like record breaking or anything.
Got about 900 this time, and I was doing kind of a sample scene with the character I'm trying to work on.
All right, 546. I'm trying not to write myself into a corner. That's been my biggest challenge with this duology. It's like I set it up. I don't want to be lazy and go, let's just do this because story needs it. And in doing that, I make really complicated situations. And I'm like, okay, write yourself out of this one, JL. Nice.
Do you like write yourself into a corner, like plotting wise?
Yeah, I don't like making things easy for my characters. I want them to be smart about everything. I want them to like not just go, oh, the door is magically unlocked. We can escape this room, or whatever. It's like they have to really. But then I set up so many obstacles that now I'm like, oh, damn it.
There is no door. The door doesn't exist. The door only
There is
exists.
no door. Yeah.
It's all illusion because they fell into the Matrix.
Yeah. I may have too many villains, but that's okay because I think that's needed in this. Usually I try like if I have a villain or an antagonist, I'll trade them out for another. Or I have one that's the main and the one that's sort of the supporting villain. And this time I've got two big baddies and I'm like, crap.
It's kind of interesting actually. How many villains I'll drop this to the chat. How many villains or antagonists do you guys generally have for your books? Obviously in more traditional books where it's a very clear individual, we're assuming when the villain is a person, right? Not assuming that the villain is a force of nature or the villain is
Like just the situation working against them, kind of a thing.
How many villains do you guys generally have in your books?
I generally have one, maybe two. I think there was one moment I had three, but it was one main and two supporting.
Okay.
Nice. I think in my trilogy I had a main antagonist. There wasn't like a villain. Everybody was really layered, and some people did crappier stuff than others. so you kind of like loved them one minute, and the next minute you're like, oh nope, hate you again. And so it was a little bit like because it's based on real people. I'm not writing fantasy. I'm writing contemporary, romance. So I can't be like the evil wizard, or anything. It's got to be a little more like anyhow. So or the traitor from within or something like that. So like this one though with the sea bear, it was very easy to have villains because it is science fiction. But now that they're out of the main danger and they're into new danger, I've got one for sure villain, one that's more of an antagonist. She's a bitch, but I think I'm going to have her kind of have a bit of an arc to become more helpful.
Okay.
Yeah. And then when they go from Earth back to Tanor, there's going to be another set of. There'll probably be about 3 that are actively working against them.
That sounds fun. I know. I remember when I was developing Scarecrow, I asked myself what the right number of villains was for the book. I always knew that there would be one core antagonist for at least the first book. I knew the first book there would be a core antagonist. There's a series antagonist, but it's not really explored too in depth in the first book. I asked myself with the way Scarecrow works, because it's an action adventure, so they obviously go through a lot of different obstacles. There's a lot of characters who I would say are obstacles, but not necessarily villains, because I filled the world with very unique, interesting characters. I think in the midpoint, around the midpoint, I think we have 2 antagonists who I would say are like midpoint antagonists, but they're not the antagonists of the entire book. But I needed to, when I asked myself and I was developing antagonists, I'm like, okay, well, how do I create an antagonist that is fearful and has very clear stakes for the entire book? And then how do I create antagonists earlier on in the story that still feels like a danger, but then can up the stakes for the antagonist later on?
Ooh.
That was really my design choice. So the book antagonist is very demonic, is very much powerful and demonic. And then the midpoint antagonist is much more of a calculated brute who's using different. It's like a different type of antagonism, but the scale of it is smaller. So that way I knew that when we go to demonic, more magical, it feels like it's bigger in scope.
Yeah, you want to keep upping the stakes for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right on.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing that's hard to do, I think, in any story is like take the original conflict kind of is maybe the first thing that comes to mind,
Mm-hmm.
but then it's like, well, how do you continue to up the stakes without just completely crapping out and coming up with something absolutely lame? Like, oh no, it's Sauron again. You really want to make it interesting and like, I haven't seen that twist on it before, and I think that's the big.
I think I've done something really, really clever with my series antagonist. And readers will not understand it until they get near the end of the series and realize how fully the series antagonist is integrated from the very beginning.
Oh, I love that. So it's going to be
I've tried to do something very clever with it. I'll see if I'm able to pull it off or not once we get farther into the series.
Right on.
It's gonna be fun.
And I think it's also presenting the reader with enough evidence and facts, so that way they can always reference back to it. But then you're really leading them on the journey that you want them to really be focused on.
Yeah, use them to guide the journey. I always kind of think of like a simple story that, well, maybe not so simple, but like even in The Wizard of Oz, it seemed like they killed the villain in the beginning, and then you realize there's a secondary threat. But that's
a good point. I mean, because really, it's like, oh, they crashed on the what was that evil the
Wicked Witch of the North, west, right? I think.
Was it North or West?
West is the Green Gal. She was the sister, and I think the Wicked Witch of the East, I think, was the one that the house crashed on, and then Glinda was the Good Witch of the North.
Yeah, so East. Okay, so East is the one that they crashed on. Like, okay, you killed her.
So. Yeah.
And I mean, I think what that does for The Wizard of Oz, and if for anyone who's read the book, it's actually a much more intense scene in the way
completely different story. The book.
Oh yeah, let's clarify that The Wizard of Oz, the original book, is more of an action adventure, a little bit more of a thriller. The themes that it explores are much darker in nature. The classic Wizard of Oz, with that is known, is very much a family-friendly action adventure. They changed it to, and clearly it worked. It was very clearly a successful thing. But
I think it had to be pared back.
Huh?
Yeah, it had to be pared back for the movie because they could not have, especially not in that day in Hollywood. I don't think they could have addressed everything as well because they find themselves as a group going from situation to situation, and each situation has its own kind of villain or something that has happened, that this problem that they have to solve, and it's such a weird freaking read. It's just bizarre.
But that's generally more common. That's generally more common for like action adventures. Like same thing with the Alice in Wonderland, right? When you think about who is the antagonist of it, technically Queen of Hearts is technically the antagonist, but then you go through and you think each of these areas she's met with characters who are obstacles, who are antagonistic, but are they truly the antagonist?
Right, that's a good point. Obstacles or characters that are antagonistic or situational antagonists or like whatever. But yeah.
Mama Maggie asked you, so what you're saying is that you built an escape room for your characters, Joe?
Yeah, well, I mean, they keep getting the themes I'm exploring in the Seed Bear are themes of confinement and liberating yourself, and it's the obvious liberating, getting out of being confined in these places, but also how to break free internally so that you have the strength to get through and get out of these places, because they keep getting seed bearers are taken for basically breeding ladies, if you will. And so they are against their will locked in rooms all the time, and they try to figure out how to get out of that. And not only that, the room is in like a business, and the business is inside of a mountain, and it's like, how do you get out? And the mountain is on a planet, the planet's in space, and they're not even on Earth. And it's like, okay, you have to go through all of these hurdles to get back to Earth. And then once they get back to Earth, guess what? Locked back in another establishment, because the seed bearers are too dangerous to be free. So, and on Earth, now we're playing with some of the political agenda of that.
And I think also that the genre we're working with at times can determine the types of antagonists that we have. I know, Lynn, you're working on a superhero book, and when we think about superheroes, generally there's multiple villains, but there's only one antagonist, generally speaking. When you think about villains, like let's think about the most popular Marvel movie, Infinity Wars and Endgame. Thanos is the antagonist, but there's multiple villains throughout. Generally, the superhero genre will try to lead you towards thinking that certain villains are the antagonist, when really there's usually a mastermind behind it all, who's the actual antagonist. That's like a very like superhero-y, hero-y trope.
Yeah, or I think even in like with excuse me while I date myself, G.I. Joe, when they had the Cobra establishment, but it was they had all the soldiers and all the bad guys from there and bad generals, and they had the side characters, but they had the main guy who was the leader, who was the big villain who controlled all the other bad guys. Same thing with
and that happens with James Bond movies all the time. Usually the bad guy is like, who the bad guy is from the very beginning, and the bad guy is made more threatening by how he perpetually makes the stakes worse.
Yep, and his henchmen.
Exactly. Absolutely love it. Awesome. So great conversation, but let's hop into our next writing sprint. So we're going to hop into writing sprint number 2. We're going to queue up 30 minutes on the clock, and we are going to do it. So we make sure we have enough time here. I believe in us. Let's get some words in. Let's beat our last record and see just what we can accomplish. So whether you are writing, editing, revising, author branding, brainstorming, let's move forward, carry on, get some words in, because it's time to write now. correct. And that is the second writing sprint. So an hour worth of writing today. Very, very cool. What progress did you make? Hopefully you were able to push a little bit. I'm feeling good. I feel like that second one was a really nice push. I saw in the chat, it looks like Lynn, you just hit 80,000 in your book. Absolutely incredible, my friend. Something very, very proud. Something to be proud of. That's absolutely awesome. 80,000 is a good round number. Love that. Megan, 1160 words, so 1,160. Nice. Sounds like you made some pretty good progress for both sprints.
Very cool.
And Courtney, totally no worries. 200, not my night, but progress is progress. And after this week, we'll take all the words I can get. Totally understandable. Kind of some days we just got to push, right? Not every day is going to be awesome. My first sprint wasn't even that great. My first sprint was very mediocre. And then the second sprint, I think I got a little farther. I definitely got a little farther.
Would you agree that would you agree that like the first sprint kind of gets you in the headspace for the second sprint? And then it's like, then flow starts to happen.
Yep. Yeah, that's usually why when I do the writing sprint streams, I'll usually try to do a couple because I feel like the first one is what gets you into the state of mind for writing.
Totally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How about you two? How'd that make any progress on your end?
Kitty.
Oh yeah, she's trying to act like she doesn't like this.
Oh yeah, she looks like she's absolutely tortured. Look at her just leaning in on you. That's so sweet. I love kitty hugs. Yeah, I got a total of just over 1,000 words on both sprints, and I got a phone call in the middle of the second one, so that kind of interrupted me. But I think I've figured out. I just, you know how I know you both of you have gone through this where you're writing and you're writing and you're writing, you got an idea, you've got kind of a plan, and then all of a sudden something else happens and your characters start misbehaving, and you're like, excuse me, come back, and then they're like, what? No, trust me, this is a great idea. Come, and so now you're over here going, oh yeah, this is fun, and that's kind of what happened. I'm like, I'm doing something I didn't even think I was going to do, and I'm loving it, and now I just want to keep going, so I'm stoked.
That's called for me. That was called writing an eccentric crow who spouts nonsense and a feisty pixie who says whatever is on her mind.
Team pedal, love her.
Man, but that's awesome. So it sounds like you made a little bit of progress that time.
Definitely, I'm ready for my next bunch of sprints for my group coming up. We usually do. I don't even know. We just go till our eyes bleed. So I'm stoked. I'm in the zone. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, that's what's up. Soul, were you able to make any progress?
Yeah, I actually just did kind of test scenes during both sprints. Before I'm actually introducing the character into one of my fan fictions. I'm just writing out a few scenes, testing how his disability works in different situations. He's partially blind, so I've seen some people describe that before, so there wasn't like a lot of new research I had to do, but I decided, hey, why don't I just write him in a scene and see how I do and then compare it to what I'm reading online, and I think it's not bad.
Nice. So it sounds like you're making a little bit of a push. Glad we were able to help provide some inspiration for today's writing sesh.
Oh yeah, I've been wanting to use him for a while, but I've been kind of nervous about him just because, well, okay, I have glasses and I'm severely nearsighted, but not quite that bad.
Well, wonderful. I'm glad we were able to make some progress today. I'm glad we had some excellent conversations in today's writers group, and I definitely was able to make a little bit of a push with our writing. But that brings us to the end of today's writers group. Make sure to come back and join us next week, next Wednesday, for the Right Now Writers Group open invite as we talk about all the writing stuff. But let's say you're like, hey, you know what? I'm not quite done yet. I need to make some more progress. I need to go get some more vibes in. Well, you're in luck because JLD is hosting her writer circle next. You should go join them. It is creativity, fun, collaboration,
shenanigans. Lots and lots of shenanigans.
Yep, go join them over in the Discord. Let's see.
Do you want me to? I'll let you do it.
Uh,
Yeah, listen to me. I'll let you do it. Okay. Don't mind me. It's fine.
just drop the Discord link over to JL's Discord over at Writers Inc. if you want to go get some collaboration. It's like a cool co-working / workshop / chatting / critique / a bunch of things.
Oh yeah, it's a little bit of everything, and we have been doing some really interesting sprints. That was a suggestion of one of my inkers, where she has a piece of music and we loop it for 20 minutes and we write whatever that music inspires. And then everybody kind of shares us all these different takes on the mood, and it's just been so much fun to do. We have the last one is tonight, and I hope she comes up with some more because I think they're all like from video games and stuff, and it's just really cool music. And so I'm stoked. I can't wait to get in there and do that, and then of course some more critiquing and writing sprints for my lovelies, my minions.
Ooh, love it, love it, love it, love it.
And then school, you host on Saturday in Kaufman's, right?
Yep.
What time do you usually host on Saturdays?
On Saturdays, it's usually like 6:15, 6:30 when I start.
Eastern time?
I usually, Eastern Standard. Sorry, and I usually end around 8:30 or so.
Right on. I want to catch. I'm going to put it on my calendar and see if I can. My weekends are turning into home project days, so they're starting to crowd up. But if I have a spare Saturday or an afternoon, and I'll also send some of my people your way. I'll put it in.
Yeah, I mean, my Saturday nights are kind of more of a casual thing. I put up instrumental music like through Suno, and then I have my own writing up on the screen so people can see what I'm doing. Although I'm thinking about potentially changing that, and also kind of been thinking about doing some live drawing through my Saturday nights as well, because I'm trying to get back into drawing, and I'm doing some character art lately that is not terrible. I mean, I'll share one of my characters in Kaufman's Discord after this. She's the first character I've drawn that actually does have a physical disability, and she was actually designed that way on purpose as part of her backstory.
Oh, neato.
Ooh, that's really cool.
Very cool. Yeah, I'll
when I see and just kind of a whole personality changer, and I love how I designed her history.
Very cool. I will when I see you put your announcement in, because I get tagged, so I'll shoot that into my Discord for anybody who's hanging out on a Saturday and needs some co-working time, and let's just help bolster each other. There's so much good vibes.
Yay! And there's no critique stream this Saturday, so I think you tend to get more people on the days where there's no critique streams, right?
Yeah, I think so. Or at least I'm more likely to get people.
So Saturday definitely got some vibes. I think it's cool to be able to do a co-working session. I think what I'm probably going to start setting up is a calendar of specialty events like what you guys are doing. So I think that'll be the next thing to consolidate, make some things easier.
Okay.
So awesome, fun stuff. So I don't think I have anything exciting. Friday I'm doing a motivation stream. Okay, we live in a world of chaos. How do you find motivation and hope in a world full of chaos? We're going to be talking about that and more on Friday's live stream.
Mine comes from grapes that have been aged.
Mine comes from a sack of straw that has also been aged over.
Mine comes from a piece of fluff I had in my lap.
Oh.
All right, my friends. Thank you so much for joining us this week. It's incredible. I'll be back tomorrow at some point for another Writing Sprint stream. But that's all that we got for you today. I'm Kaufman, and these guys are
JLD. Oh, sorry. I was sorry. And
Tassel.
And we'll catch y'all on the next stream. Take care, friends. Stories are forever. I'm Kaufman, and I'll catch you on tomorrow. Stay creative, writers. It's time to write
now.
Sorry.
Right now, not right now, but right now. Read now, right now.